Some stories don't begin with screams, they begin with silence. The kind that fills a factory floor just seconds before a life changes forever. Today, we're stepping inside the walls where ordinary workers face the unthinkable. Not to relive their pain, but to honor their courage. And trust me, what you're about to hear will stay with you long after the final chapter. The story begins inside the oldest steel factory of Ridgewater Town, where workdays started before sunrise and ended long after the sky went dark. The workers were simple people, fathers, daughters, sons, each one carrying dreams bigger than the bruises they returned home with. Among them was Samuel, a quiet man known for two things: showing up early and never complaining, no matter how hot the flames burned beside him. Samuel's closest friend was Irene, a single mother who worked double shifts to care for her sick daughter. Together they formed a bond that kept them grounded amid the grinding gears, falling sparks, and endless pressure. The factory wasn't just a workplace. It was a battlefield where survival depended on timing, teamwork, and luck. And yet, that morning felt different. Samuel noticed the machines trembling more than usual, humming in a pitch he had never heard before. "It's stress," he whispered to Irene, tapping the metal. She brushed him off. "Everything here is stressed, Sam. Even us." They didn't know that within hours, the first disaster would strike. That afternoon, a massive hydraulic press stalled mid-cycle. The entire floor paused. Supervisors shouted instructions, workers exchanged nervous glances, and Samuel felt something cold settle in his chest. But production targets were higher than safety reports. Pressure outweighed caution. And so the reset button was pushed. When the press slammed down unexpectedly, the whole factory froze in shock. A young man named Eli, barely 22, narrowly escaped, pulled by Samuel in the last second. His knees shook as he cried, whispering thank yous through trembling breaths. The workers gathered around him, shaken but alive. It was the first warning, yet the management dismissed it as a minor mechanical hiccup. But Samuel knew better. Everyone did. They just had no choice but to keep working. Night shifts were the cruelest. Fewer workers, fewer supervisors, and more pressure to keep the machines running without interruption. This was the shift Irene dreaded the most, but she needed the extra pay for her daughter's medication. Samuel volunteered to work alongside her so she wouldn't be alone. As the night deepened, the factory grew eerily quiet except for the rhythmic rumble of conveyor belts and the clanking of metal. That's when the second tragedy unfolded, a malfunction in furnace line C. A pipe burst, sending sparks across the platform. Workers ran, alarms screamed, and smoke filled the air. But one person was missing: Javed, an elderly technician who had worked there longer than anyone could remember. Samuel rushed into the haze, Irene behind him, coughing and shielding her eyes. They found Javed lying near the edge of the furnace platform, alive but unable to stand. The heat was unbearable. Samuel lifted him while Irene guided them toward the exit. When they burst through the doors, the workers watching outside erupted in relief. That night, under the starless sky, the workers finally confessed their fears to each other. "How many more warnings before it's one of us?" Irene whispered. Samuel didn't answer, because he didn't know. The factory was becoming a place where bravery wasn't just a trait, it was a requirement for survival. Weeks later, frustration turned into anger. The workers held a meeting in the storage room, a place where management rarely bothered to look. They spoke of failing machines, hidden reports, ignored maintenance requests, and the fear that haunted them. Samuel, usually quiet, found his voice. "We're not machines," he said. "We bleed, we break, we have families waiting at home. If one more life is lost here, it's on all of us for staying silent." His words shook the room. For the first time, they felt united, not as employees, but as people fighting for the right to live. The next morning, Samuel led the group into the main office to demand repairs and safety inspections. But instead of cooperation, they were met with cold stares and threats of suspension. The factory valued production over people. Still, the workers refused to back down. The real breaking point came that afternoon when a boiler, ignored for months, began rattling violently. Alarms blared, steam burst from its sides, and workers scrambled to evacuate. The explosion, though controlled by emergency valves, rocked the factory like an earthquake. Windows shattered, equipment toppled, and workers ran through the smoke towards safety. Miraculously, everyone survived. But the truth could no longer be buried. The factory was moments away from becoming a graveyard. That day, the workers realized something powerful. Their unity was stronger than fear. After the near explosion, the town turned its attention to Ridgewater Factory. Inspectors arrived, reporters gathered, and workers finally told their stories without fear of punishment. Samuel, Irene, Eli, Javid, each one became the voice for dozens of others who had suffered in silence. The factory was shut down for months, and a massive investigation revealed years of negligence. New management was brought in, safety systems rebuilt, and every machine replaced or repaired. When the factory reopened, it did so with a renewed commitment. Never again would lives be valued less than profit. Samuel and Irene stood at the entrance on opening day, watching workers walk in with hopeful smiles rather than terrified eyes. The air felt different, lighter, safer. Eli joined them, now a safety officer dedicated to protecting the very people who once saved him. Javid retired peacefully, knowing he left behind a factory where others wouldn't suffer like he almost did. The story ends not with tragedy, but with triumph. A lesson carved in steel and sweat. When people stand together, even the most dangerous places can become safe. Silence kills, but unity saves. And that message, that courage, that fight, is why viewers stay till the final second of this story.